They are investigating the possibility that the rapper's death is related to other rap artist murders, including that of Tupac Shakur.
Yo, the street's been buzzing for decades, but now the truth's out. Biggie's death ain't a mystery no more. Leaked FBI files dropped the name, the motive, and the secrets that kept hip-hop holding its breath for 28 years. The night LA stood still, March 8, 19, Christopher Wallace, known as Biggie Smalls to the world, had flown out west for the first time since Tupac got capped 6 months earlier. The East Coast-West Coast beef? Yeah, it still smoldered. But Biggie? He was trying to squash that, trying to show he wasn't just about the hype and the beef. He was out there promoting peace, putting on for his new double album, Life After Death. Title sounds prophetic now, but back then, that was ambition, a man trying to step into his power while avoiding the traps around him. He rolled up to the Vibe magazine afterparty at the Peterson Automotive Museum with his boy Puffy and the whole entourage. Security was tight, but the energy, light. Biggie moving through the crowd, laughing, taking pics with fans, shining like he owned the night. He looked untouchable, till the game flipped on him. Minutes past midnight, Biggie and his crew bounced. The convoy crawled through LA streets, Biggie sitting up front in a dark green GMC Suburban, Puffy up ahead, security tight on their heels. Streetlights glared, traffic slow, the city quiet but alive. No one had any clue what was about to go down. At Fairfax and Wilshire, a black Chevy Impala slid up smooth to Biggie's passenger side. Ain't no accident. Witnesses later said that car moved deliberate, like it was hunting. From the driver's window, a 9mm cracked off. 4 bullets hit Biggie. He slumped over in his seat. Chaos hit, honks, screams, flashes of light. The driver floored it, heading for Cedars-Sinai. Paramedics jumping in, trying to save him. But by 1:15 a.m., Biggie was gone. 24 years old, life cut short. The shooter vanished into the night. Witnesses shook, scared to speak. Some said the man had a bow tie. Some said he dipped clean like smoke. A bank camera might have caught a glimpse, but footage was blurry, useless. The truth? Vanished like the man who pulled the trigger. Timing made it worse. Tupac, 6 months earlier, Vegas, gone at 25. Fans saw it ain't no coincidence. Revenge, gang hits, label politics, power moves. Every rumor had believers. Every whisper, another piece in a puzzle nobody could solve. Biggie, he tried to rise above. Days before, he said he was ready to leave the beef behind. His album title? Life After Death. Now it sounded like prophecy. He wasn't just talking music, he was talking survival in a world that don't forgive talent, ambition, or brothers trying to shine too bright too fast. Whispers in the hood said Death Row had a hand in it, East Coast versus West Coast had something to do, and maybe crooked cops were in the mix. Ain't nobody saying it out loud yet, but everybody felt it. The system that should protect? Quiet. The truth was buried deep, waiting decades to surface. FBI files, confidential reports, quiet informants, all tucked away until the right time, when the streets could finally get the story. That night, Los Angeles stood still. The East Coast-West Coast beef had claimed its second major casualty. Tupac had gone 6 months prior, now Biggie. And the streets? They whispered, wondered, feared. Loyalty, revenge, money, and power had collided, leaving a hole nobody could fill, a wound nobody could heal. The players in the game? Still moving, still watching. But one truth was clear. Biggie's death wasn't random. It was calculated, deliberate, and the streets knew the files existed that would one day spill the story. And spill they would, just decades later. East Coast, West Coast, and the feud that turned fatal. Before all them bullets, all that chaos, there was a time when Tupac and Biggie was tight, real tight. Early 90s, hip-hop was blowing up, and these two young kings was trying to navigate the game together. Tupac, the veteran from the West, took Biggie under his wing in New York. Let him crash on the couch, give him tips for performing, school him on the biz, even show him how to survive in a world full of sharks disguised as friends. For a hot minute, the East and West wasn't beefing. It was grinding, respecting each other's hustle. But that all changed one night in 1994. November 30th, Quad Recording Studios, NYC. Tupac walked in to lay down some tracks and got jumped. 5 bullets in his body, near death. He survived, but trust? Gone. Tupac believed that wasn't no random robbery. Nah, it was set up. Someone lured him there. Someone knew what was coming. And in Tupac's eyes, Biggie and Puffy, they was in the building. Coincidence? Tupac didn't think so. That seed of doubt? That's what birthed the feud that would haunt the culture. Biggie and Puffy both denied any involvement, said they didn't know nothing. Tupac? He didn't believe him. That moment shifted everything. Allies turned into enemies. East versus West. Death Row versus Bad Boy, LA versus New York. The streets caught wind, the media fanned the flames, and fans picked sides. Loyalty became lethal. The game wasn't just music no more. It was survival, reputation, respect, and revenge. By the time Tupac got out of jail in '95 and signed with Death Row, the feud was boiling over. He dropped Hit 'Em Up in 1996, one of the nastiest diss tracks in history, called out Biggie, Puffy, even made it personal, claimed he slept with Faith Evans, Biggie's wife. That wasn't just rap bars, it was a straight-up declaration. I don't trust you, I'm coming for blood if I have to. And the streets? They heard it loud and clear. It wasn't just lyrical warfare, it was a full-blown gang mentality injected into music. Death Row had the West, Bad Boy had the East, Suge Knight versus Puffy. It was like two armies, and the battlefield was everywhere. The clubs, the award shows, the radio, the magazine covers. Every performance, every interview, every rhyme was ammunition. And the tension? Man, you could feel it in the air like static before a storm. The Source Awards in '95? That was the moment the culture realized things was about to get real. Booed off the stage, subliminal shots, threats whispered in the hallways. Artists who once hugged now looked at each other like enemies. The city, the streets, even fans online were watching, waiting for something to pop off. And pop off it did. September 7, 1996, Vegas. Tupac got hit again, this time fatally. He died 6 days later. The East Coast whispered about revenge. The West Coast, anger, paranoia, grief, and the world, stunned. Ain't nobody has seen nothing like it. Tupac, the unstoppable force, gone. But his death wasn't the end. It was the ignition for what was coming next. Biggie Smalls, he tried to rise above. He tried to say, we can move past this. But when Tupac was unalive, the streets knew what was coming. The East Coast was exposed, vulnerable, and Biggie, he was at the top of the target list. Fans didn't see an isolated death, they saw payback. And in the hood, where rumors travel faster than police cars, everyone knew something had to give. Behind the scenes, it wasn't just about music no more. Politics, gangs, money, power moves, it all wrapped together. The whisper said Suge Knight had a hand in it. Death Row had reach. And then you had allegations that rogue cops was in the mix. Dirty officers who moved with the streets, who played both sides, and who might have even been the eyes and ears for hits like Tupac and Biggie. Some names floated around, David Mack, Amir Muhammad, but nothing ever got locked down. Evidence got lost, witnesses got scared, leads went cold. The FBI, they had files, investigations, confidential informants. Some of that info got buried, tucked away from public eye for decades. And for years, people speculated. Books, documentaries, TV specials, they all tried to piece it together, but nobody had the full story until recently. The leaks, the documents, the insiders talking finally gave us the answer streets been waiting for. Even with Tupac gone, even with Biggie walking in danger, the culture kept moving. Fans held on, rappers got louder, and the media, they stayed hungry for drama. But the truth? It was silent, waiting behind closed doors, FBI vaults, and witness protection programs. And when it finally came out, it shook everything. Because the man who pulled the trigger, yeah, he was connected to all them rumors, all them whispers, all them East Coast, West Coast games. Biggie's death wasn't random. Tupac's wasn't either. The feud, the tension, the music, it all collided that night on Fairfax. And the streets, they felt it. For years, they asked, who did it? And now, with the leaked FBI files, the answer was clear. But as clear as it was, justice wasn't about to roll through the court doors. Nah, this story, it was about truth exposed, secrets spilled, and the streets finally getting the story they've been waiting on for decades. And the thing about the streets, once you hear it, you can't unhear it. The files, the leaks, they told everything. The planning, the orders, the payment, the connection to Suge Knight, all of it. What the public didn't see? The politics, the fear, the corruption. The power plays that kept the truth from coming out sooner. By the end of it, the streets knew one thing. Biggie Smalls didn't just die because of bullets. He died because of a world built on loyalty, betrayal, revenge, and power. And for the first time, the truth was spilling. Leaked files, spill the truth. Hey, now we get into the part the streets been waiting for. The part that finally made sense of all them years of rumors, whispers, and what ifs. See, the FBI files, yeah, the ones just recently leaked, finally told the story straight. And the man behind the trigger, it wasn't some random thug or a bad luck twist. Nah, it was Wardell Poochie Fowles, Mob Peru Bloods, a known enforcer, someone Suge Knight trusted to get things done when he wanted it quiet, clean, and deadly. Now, Poochie wasn't just any street soldier. He was deep in the game, loyal to the core, and he moved like he owned the block. The files show that Suge, even from behind bars, had him lined up for a hit. Suge was sitting in LA County Jail, locked up tight for a parole violation. But that didn't stop him. Nah, Suge's reach was long. He had to go through a middleman, a woman who acted like she was just some legal assistant visiting him. But she wasn't just there for paperwork. Nah, she was the link. The files reveal she took orders, coordinated payments, and made sure Poochie got the message straight. Handle Biggie, March 9, 1997, Los Angeles. The city was alive, but Biggie had no clue he was the target. He rolls out of that Vibe magazine afterparty in his dark green GMC Suburban, laughing, moving through life like the king he was. Cameras flash, fans cheer, and nobody could imagine what was about to go down. The leaked files detail the planning, the surveillance, the precision of it all. It wasn't sloppy. It wasn't random. Poochie had one job, and he was going to do it right. Eyewitnesses always talked about the black Chevy Impala. Now the files connect the dots. That was Poochie's ride. The files show how he slowed the car, pulled even with Biggie's Suburban, and from the driver's side, unleashed the shots that would end the notorious B.I.G.'s life forever. 4 bullets, 24 years old, dreams, music, potential, gone in seconds. The files even corroborate witness statements about how fast he disappeared into the night, leaving chaos behind. But here's the thing, this wasn't personal, at least not in the street sense. It was retaliation. Tupac's death still hung over the West Coast like a storm cloud. Suge Knight, he blamed Biggie's camp for Tupac. The files make it clear. This was about payback, respect, and sending a message. Life in the rap game, especially back then, was dangerous. You crossed lines, and the consequences could be fatal. Suge knew how to play the game, and Poochie, he was the hand that did the dirty work. And yo, the files even show the money trail. Payments, incentives, the kind of stuff only insiders would know. Poochie didn't move for free. Loyalty in the gang world had a price, and Suge made sure that price was met. Everything was documented, confidential, and detailed enough that anyone reading it now can see how organized it all was. This wasn't street gossip. This wasn't some rumor passed around a corner store. This was FBI-level documentation, reports, interviews, statements, all lining up like puzzle pieces finally clicking into place. Biggie's death wasn't some unsolved mystery anymore. It was cold, hard, documented truth. But here's the irony. Poochie, he ain't even alive to face it. 2003 Compton, shot multiple times on a motorcycle. Just like that, the trigger man was gone. No courtroom, no confessions, no trial. The files explain it all, but the streets could only speculate why he went out like that. Was it karma, gang business, or someone cleaning up loose ends? We'll never know for sure. But the fact remains, justice in the legal sense? Nah, that never came for Biggie. Even Suge? He wasn't free. The files tie him directly to the orders, but he was locked up in a separate sentence for that 2015 hit and run. So, courts? They looked at the situation and said, nah, we don't need to open this again. Political risk, potential lawsuits, corrupt cops. It all made the case too messy. The FBI leaks gave the truth to the people, but the system? It stayed quiet, technicalities keeping the doors closed. The streets, though, they saw it differently. Truth spilled, names named. The files laid it out, unfiltered, showing how music, fame, and gang politics collided. Biggie's death wasn't about rap beef no more. It was a chessboard with pieces moving silently in shadows. Every detail in the files showed how deep loyalty, power, and revenge ran. And that's why this matters, because the streets finally know. Poochie Faust, Suge Knight, the plans, the payment, the hits, all of it exposed in black and white thanks to the leaked FBI files. The truth? Harsh, painful, but it's the truth. And for decades, that's all the world needed. Not just to mourn Biggie Smalls, but to understand the world he lived in, the forces that hunted him, and the streets that carried his story long after the shots rang out on Fairfax. Fallout and legacy. Streets react to the FBI leaks. When the FBI files dropped, man, it hit the culture like a sledgehammer. Streets, blogs, forums, and even late-night radio, everybody was talking about it. Finally, after 28 years of whispers, rumors, and speculation, the truth was out there for everyone to see. Poochie Faust, the shooter. Suge Knight, the one who set it all in motion. No more question marks, no more what-ifs. The files laid it all out, and the reaction? Man, it was raw. In the neighborhoods, you could hear it everywhere. From Brooklyn stoops to Compton corners, heads were nodding but heavy with grief. Folks who grew up bumping Ready to Die and Life After Death suddenly felt like they'd been let in on the real story behind the music. They remembered Biggie's laugh, his style, his bars, and now, the truth added a whole new layer of pain. The streets felt like they'd been lied to for decades, But at the same time, there was a weird sense of closure. Finally, someone knew what really went down. Hip-hop heads took to social media and YouTube, dissecting the files, breaking down the chain of events. Old interviews resurfaced. Documentaries that tried to piece together the murder suddenly made more sense. Clips from Unsolved and Broomfield's Biggie and Tupac were re-examined frame by frame. People compared witness accounts to the new info. The streets were doing their own forensic work, piecing together the story Poochie and Shug had been a part of. And the thing is, even with all the anger and heartbreak, respect for the truth grew. Hip-hop needed this. The culture needed to know. Biggie's family, of course, had mixed emotions. Valletta Wallace, his mother, spoke publicly for the first time in years, her voice steady but heavy. She thanked the FBI for finally releasing the files, but she reminded the world that no documents could bring her son back. Faith Evans, Biggie's widow, posted a heartfelt statement on social media, reflecting on the grief that never really left and the complicated feelings the files stirred. For CJ and Tiana Wallace, Biggie's kids, it was a moment to learn history firsthand about the world their dad navigated and the dangers he faced that night in LA. The files also reignited debate about Suge Knight. Even locked up for life, his shadow loomed large. Critics said the leaks confirmed what many already suspected. Suge's reach extended far beyond the streets, even behind bars. Supporters called the files one-sided, claiming bias or selective truth. The debate split the culture, old heads arguing in barbershops and young heads learning the streets through screens. But everyone agreed on one thing: Biggie's life and death were never simple, and now the full story was out in the open. And the streets? They didn't just mourn, they reflected. Graffiti murals popped up in Brooklyn and LA, honoring Biggie's legacy and telling the story of his life, his death, and the system that failed him. Ciphers, freestyle battles, and tribute tracks emerged, reminding the world that while the FBI leaks explained the murder, they couldn't erase the music, the art, or the culture he left behind. Hip-hop still lived in every corner of the city, and Biggie's voice still carried through every block. The final irony? The system still hadn't acted. No arrests, no courtroom, no handcuffs. But for the first time, the streets had the truth. That mattered more than anything to the people who knew Biggie wasn't just a rapper. He was the voice of the block, the king of Brooklyn, a legend whose story deserved to be told, even if justice in the courts never came. In the end, the leaked FBI files did something incredible. They gave the culture what it had been missing for decades: answers. And while pain, anger, and heartbreak didn't disappear, neither did hope. Biggie's music continued to play, reminding everyone who he was and why his story mattered. Poochie Fouls, Suge Knight, The Drive-By, The Bullets, all exposed. The streets could finally say they knew the truth. And that truth? It was raw, it was real, and it was the last word in a story that haunted hip-hop for too long.